Hey everybody, long time no see, but it's that time again. It's time for Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. My name is Deborah, and I'm coming to you from here on my family farm in the foothills of the Arkansas Ozarks, where I like to do all the crafts, including the crafting with a capital C. That I knit, I sew, I crochet, I make jewelry, I make baskets, I like to make quilts when I have the energy and the time. I'll try any craft once and twice if I like it. And I have been expanding my crafting horizons considerably this last year into some capital C crafting that you have seen a little bit of snippets of as well. I am also a university professor at a local four-year regional university where I teach courses in physics and astrophysics to physics majors and then general education classes. And I am a docent at our planetarium. And I'm also involved with diversity, belonging, inclusion, and equity so long as our local government lets us keep doing that. Don't even get me started about the governor of this state, because I ain't got nothing nice to say. Anyway, but anyway, I do that, and I am also a farmer. I am a third-generation family farmer where I raise grass-fed beef cattle, I raise horses, I have a retirement herd of miniature horses, miniature donkeys, a miniature mule named Pumpkin who thinks she rules a roost, and Princess Penny the pot-bellied pig. She has no poultry to protect at the moment, so she is just living her best life, but she has been on a diet because she was getting a little overweight. And as you can tell from my sweet co-host here, Willie, who has decided to finally return and grace y'all with his presence, I am fur kid mom to several dogs and cats, including an outside clouder of barn cats. So if any of all of that sounds interesting to you, I talk about all these things on Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. If you're looking for me on social media, you can find me on Instagram and on Ravelry and on TikTok as Doc Firewoman. There is also a Ravelry group, which has not been terribly active, and that's my fault, for the podcast, as well as a Facebook page for the podcast, Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. You can find us there. I will link those things down below. Are you bored already? Okay. I also have a Ko-fi account, although I have not been very active, and I apologize again for that, for various reasons. But we'll talk more about that in the chat and the catch up at the end. But I do have that, and I am hoping to become more consistent and regular, and I am going to start building a web page, and I will talk a little bit about that as well toward the end, but it is going to be related to my capital C crafting, mostly because I have an opportunity to do some teaching. So at any rate, yes, so I'm also on I'm still got my account on Twitter, which I'm going to still call it Twitter because he dead names people, so I'm going to dead name that app. But I am a very left-leaning liberal Democrat and blue dot in a red state. Well, there's a lot of us little blue dots here, it turns out. But at any rate, I do not hold back my beliefs. I do not. And if you just came here for the knitting or the crafting or whatever, you are going to be sorely disappointed if that's all you're here for. But I try to be inclusive, meaning that I believe there are good people in a lot of different places and a lot of different thought, and we need to just be able to communicate and understand humanity a little bit better. But then I also believe there are some people that are not worth talking to, and I make no apologies for that. I am not one of those let's get along with everybody people, because no. No, I'm not that. Anyway, have y'all missed that? Have y'all missed the tirades? But at any rate, so I am, yes, it's a waste of time really to follow me on Twitter because I don't post anything on there. I was just on there following some accounts of some animals that I liked. Following animals online is heartbreaking, y'all, because they die and it just kills me every time. But at any rate, Willie's here. Yay, everybody say hello to Willie. So you can find us there. I have not been doing any giveaways or make-alongs at present. We were trying to do a knit-along for the adventurous, and I think I've gotten 2 rows done on it, and It is a complex pattern, and my brain is just not letting me work on it right now. So we're going to try again next year on that. We're going to try again next year. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to change up the format just a little bit. I am going to still always talk about crafting first, but then I will let you know when other things are happening so that you can tune out if that's not interesting to you. But otherwise, let's move on. And I do have a couple of finished objects to share. Okay, so I'm trying a different setup here because I need to straighten up in here again, but what else is new? I do have a couple of finished objects to show you. I have made quite a few objects, and I have helped with the finishing of quite a few objects, but most of those went into the Sticks and Stones business. I enjoy helping them make things. It is a nice creative outlet for me, and I love being able to contribute to the magic in the world. So it is never a chore for me to help finish up wands or mushrooms or pendants or whatever. I enjoy doing that very much. I still do have a couple of hats left. I sold all of my hats but 4. But I still have 4 left, and I have a commission for one too that I need to actually pull some fabric for this weekend. But I do have a couple of dresses that I have finished. The first one is a Suleiman woofing fabric, apparently, or Sulamith woofing fabric that I found at a garage sale and fell in love with it. I paid, I think, $1 for the fabric, but this is the Sweetie Pie dress, and I'll put a picture of it with me wearing it in here. But the fabric print is beautiful on this, and then that's what I fell in love with. I think I paid $1 for this entire piece, and I was able to get the Sweetie Pie dress, which is a skater style dress by Ellie and Mac Patterns. It has 3 different sleeve lengths that you can make. So I made the one that comes just above the elbow, and it has a nice little full swirly skirt on it. So it's a skater style dress. It's super cute. I have a couple of others of this style as well. So that is the first thing that I finished, and I'll insert a picture of it here. It is short, so I do wear like bike shorts or something underneath it, or leggings with it if I want to wear it. But I like how it fits. It's a flattering fit. The other dress that I made is actually a butterick pattern that my friend Sandy gave me, that I made the chemo caps for. So she gave me several patterns. This is butterick 6931. It's just a simple empire waist dress. Okay, which I like that style. It's very easy to wear. It's very comfortable. It's a good fit on me, so I like wearing that. So I made that in, you guys will remember this fabric, the Strawberry Stealers. So the Strawberry Stealers fabric here, I got from Joann Fabrics. It's a little mice with strawberries. Now this dress did not have pockets in it, so I added pockets to this dress because to me, every time you have a dress, it should have pockets if at all possible. Now the Sweetie Pie is a little hard to put pockets in, so it doesn't have pockets. But this dress has pockets in it, and I made it a little longer, okay? So, yeah, so I finished those 2 dresses. And as I said, I have made several magical items, but all those have gone on down the road to the Sticks and Stones pile. But anyway, so those are my 2 finished objects that I can show. But I've got several works in progress, so we'll talk about those next. So my first my first work in progress is actually behind the camera right now. So let me see if I can reach it. This is the skirt on it, but it is the Bardon dress, excuse me, from Peppermint Magazine in collaboration with LB Textiles. It was a free pattern on the Peppermint Magazine website. And someone had given me this large scale print fabric. This is a tiered skirt dress. The dress itself is sleeveless, but it's easy enough to wear a shirt or something under. So I'm making out of this really cool zodiacal print here. I've got the skirt pieces put together. I need to assemble the skirt, and then I had cut the bodice out of a fabric that I wasn't in love with. And the way the dress is called to be finished is you put bias tape around the neck and bias tape around the armholes. And I was trying to use some single fold bias tape, and I wasn't having very good luck with it. And I kind of had a little temper fit and ripped the bodice, which is okay because I wasn't in love with the fabric choice anyway. So I went back to my fabric stash and I found fabric that I liked a lot better. I was using a fabric that was not even, it was a sort of a match for this rusty red color. But it wasn't a close match, and it was bugging me. So I actually have some gold fabric, some denim, lightweight denim fabric that I'm going to make the bodice out of now that'll match this almost perfectly. So I guess sometimes your temper fits work out, right? Anyway, this does have pockets in it. It is a free pattern. It is not super duper size inclusive, but it does have a decent range of sizes on the lower end. I'm one of the bigger sizes that they have available, and I am the fullest part of my bust is 48 inches. My waist is a 36. So their range of sizes is not huge, but you know, it's free. So you can go check it out. Maybe you can draft it out a little bit larger should you choose to go that route. That is a dress that I'm working on right now. And then I'm going to take a pause on that once I finish that dress. And this is not really a work in progress. Rather, it's going to be the alteration of something that I already had. This is a pair of belly dancer pants that my friend Cassie had, and I got them from her. And the way they work is they've got ties on them. So they're split open on the sides, so you wear leggings under them. Or not. I mean, depends on, you know, your level of confidence. But you tie the front and you tie them in the back, and that's fine, except to use the bathroom. You have to untie them and take the whole panel down, which I hate. I wore these to a festival where there were porta potties, and I'm like, no, this is not happening again. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sew the sides together with some elastic, and put some elastic in the sides so that I can just wear them like a regular pair of pants. I'm going to leave the ties and probably just tie them on the side. So once I get them, you know, fitted the way that I want. These are actually probably too small for me in reality, but they fit normally. So I am going to sew some elastic in both sides of these, make them easier to get on and off. Yeah, so that's my plan anyway. I may overlap them just a little bit. I'll measure them out and I may overlap them just a little bit to see where they need to be to fit me correctly, and then sew the elastic in the sides. And then that way they'll be much better attire all around, but certainly for events like the festival we were at where, no. No, I was just like, no, this is not happening. So anyway, yeah. So when you go to festivals where there are porta potties, jumpsuits, things like that are a pain in their hind end to wear. So I'm going to try to adapt these to make them work a little bit better. Okay. As far as knitting goes, I've got a couple of knitting projects to show you. This is the Show Off Chevron Cowl. I think I've got the pattern in here. Let me see if I can find it right quick. Yeah, here it is. I believe this is a free pattern as well on Ravelry. This is the Show Off Chevron Cowl by Darn Knit. Anyway, Amy Pelletier, or Pelletier, however you say that. I guess it depends. It is a free pattern, and it is a handy little one for self-striping yarn. And what I had was some sport weight self-striping yarn from String Theory Colorworks. This was a colorway called Penumbra, and I did not want to knit a pair of socks out of it, so I have decided to knit this cowl out of it. And the last time I showed it to you, which has been a while, it was down here by this marker. So you can see I've made quite a fair bit of progress on it as I have been working. It's a very easy to memorize pattern. It's just a 4-row repeat, and it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And you can make it as long as you want. So I'm just going to knit up this entire bundle of yarn, bundle, whatever you want to call it. And if it's long enough to stay as a scarf, I may just leave it as a scarf, or you put it together. You can put it together with buttons, sew it together with buttons, or however you want to do that. But I like how it really shows off the beautiful patterning of the yarn. So I'm a fan of her yarn, as y'all know, because it's all sciencey. So it gives me an opportunity to show off that beautiful self-striping yarn. That is my knit at work project during meetings and such like. So that's where I'm at on that. Then on my Saturday morning sweater, which is a pattern from Dragon Horde Yarns, the last time I showed it to y'all, I was just getting ready to start the second sleeve. Now, I did have a little incident with this sweater where I left my bag in a place where the dogs got at it. Now, they didn't tear a hole in it, but what they did was somebody decided it was a comfy sweater to lay on. And so they pawed it. They didn't make any holes, but there were a lot of pulls on it. Now, granted, it is just a nothing. It is an acrylic sweater, and it was made by design to be easy to take care of, which is good. And now there's a problem right there. Well, is it? No. I think I already fixed that. I dropped a stitch and I had already fixed it. So it is an easy sweater to wear, easy to sweater to knit with and work with, but it is acrylic yarn. It's Red Heart with Love. This is how far I've gotten on the sleeve. So the last time y'all saw it, I hadn't even started this sleeve yet. So I've put about, 6-7 inches on the sleeve. I'm trying to keep it matched up with this one, so you can see I don't have that much more to go on the orange, and then I'll switch to the yellow to finish up the sleeve with. So you can see where I'm at. I've got about another probably 2 inches to knit of the orange, and then I'll finish up with the yellow on this one. So yeah, it's just going to be a nice big cozy sweater to wear in the wintertime when it's cool. And it's acrylic, so I can throw it in the washing machine, which, that matters to me. So, then I do have a little bit of progress on a piece of cross stitch. It is my Black Phillip pattern that I'm making for my tattoo artist. I did get a little bit of progress on it. I think the last time I showed you, I had just started the lettering. So I've gotten the first row of lettering done, and I'm bringing the sides down right now. And this is a pattern by the Witchy Stitcher. It's called Black Phillip. It's after the movie The Witch. So I've got to finish the words out. So there's 3 lines of words, and then this design is inverted down here on the bottom. So I would like to get this done. I keep saying that. I've been working on it for over a year. I do my best. I do my best. I haven't finished a cross stitch project in quite a while. My cross stitch mojo kind of flew out the window. And I've been doing other things. I'll just be honest with y'all. I've been doing other things. I've worked on my book. I got the second round of edits turned in. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But my priorities have been elsewhere lately, and that's why I haven't been podcasting as much. But I'm back, and I'm going to try to do some more crafting now that winter's coming and the days are getting noticeably shorter. Today, in fact, is the equinox. Today is Mabon. It is the first day of the fall here in the northern hemisphere, the first day of spring, or Ostara, in the southern hemisphere. So, yay. Maybe that's why I felt like podcasting today. Anyway, so those are my works in progress. I don't really have anything laid out for future crafting to show you. I have lots of things that I would like to try to make, but I hesitate to show them because then I feel bad when I don't get them done. And although I do have acquisitions, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I've gotten a lot of beautiful things as gifts. I've gotten a lot of, I haven't bought a lot of crafting with a lowercase c related stuff, but I have an idea. But I'm not going to share it until I figure out if it's going to work or not. So stay tuned. But at any rate, so I've got some ideas of things that I want to do, but honestly, until I get some things finished, I'm not going to be starting anything new. Otherwise, I've got some sewing things I want to make, but I've got several things cut out that I want to finish. So I'm not going to share any future crafting today or acquisitions. So if you're just here for the crafty content, it's short and sweet today. We're going to move on and talk about campus life and farm life and a general kind of catch up with what's been going on with me. Probably all in one big segment today to just get you caught up with where I'm at. So, what's been going on with me? Well, things have been good. I guess the last time I talked to you guys was right after my birthday in July. And since then, things have been, we went to Mystic South, which y'all saw the video from Mystic South. I hope that you watched that. And then when we came back from Mystic South, things got really hot and dry here, so it's kind of depressing on the farm a little bit. And I was starting to make decisions about what I was going to do with the cattle herd. And then Joel went through a pretty severe depressive period around about the beginning of August. Then after that, his whole family got sick with some sort of summer flu cold thing, which I managed to avoid getting, but I was able to help out, with some help there, with some supportive help there. So yeah, and then I kind of went through a little bit of I don't know what to call it, an existential crisis. If you follow me on TikTok, you saw my post about it. I've never been anything but completely honest with you guys, so I'm just going to lay all this out with what's going on at my work and just be honest with you about my feelings about it. First of all, being in higher education, particularly in the southern states right now, is a thankless job. Since long before the 2016 election, there was this building wave of anti-intellectualism. And I could point a lot of fingers at why I think that's happening, but let's just suffice to say that the way you control and manipulate people is you keep them uninformed. And you keep them ignorant, and you deny them access to diverse schools of thought and knowledge. When people would take over, years ago, when people would take over a civilization, the first thing they do would burn their libraries and kill the people that had the knowledge. So higher ed is a thankless job right now. Then some changes happened at my work where there were a couple of things that were going on. There was a couple of things that I felt like were handled poorly, not to do with me directly, but that impacted some friends of mine. And then I was offered one of their jobs, which I felt I took the interview because I wanted to hear what they were going to say so I could go back to Willie's wanting back in here. So I could go back to my friend and say, oh, by the way, let me let him in because he's just going to keep that up. Hold, please. Okay, Willie's back in here now, so he's a little bit happier. He's not going to be scratching at the door like he was. You want up here where you can see, where everybody can see? Come on. Well, come on. Come on. There we go. So, also, one of the things that happened is there was some restructuring that happened in our department. And I understand why they did it. I feel like the way that it was handled, we were denied agency. We were denied information. We were denied transparency. We were denied agency. And this was all going on during the pandemic. And I felt very unsupported. I'll just put it that way. I felt very unsupported during these changes. And then we come back with these stories of doom and gloom about my part of the department, and as though we were being blamed for what had happened, when it was not our doing, and we had no agency and no voice in this process. And I tried to do what a leader should do and say, please help us. We are disenfranchised. We need communication. We need transparency. And we need support. And I felt like that those words largely went unheard at several levels. And I kept this up for about 4 years. Not quite the entire time that I've been podcasting, but a fair bit of it. And over the course of the last year, I just started feeling, what are you doing? Get out of that. I just started feeling very tired and anxious and upset, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was. And so, whether you believe in these things or not, I do. So I had gone to what's called a psychic night and had a couple of tarot readings done, and then a mediumship reading. And in the tarot readings, I just asked about the trajectory of my career. That was all I said. These people didn't know anything that was going on. And the readings were both, put down your sword and stop fighting. You can't win this fight. Even if it's the just fight, there is no way you can win it, because there are too many factors operating against you. Even if it's the just fight, even if it's the righteous decision, you can't win it. And so the next day, I was taking an angelic practitioner's class, which is looking at the energy of working with angels. And part of the reason that I chose to do that, and I don't want to take too much of an aside, but part of the reason why I chose to do that is of my religious trauma and getting over bumping on the good things. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I believe that all faith paths have good people on them and have some good things to offer. But I think that there are a lot of all faith paths also have people on them who are problematic. And being raised in a particular tradition as a evangelical Christian, I always bumped on that from the time I was very small, but I saw the abuses that happened to myself and to other people in the particular area that I was in. I'm not saying that everyone is this way. I believe, like I said, I believe there's good people in all faith paths. So I had found myself of late rejecting everything that Christianity has to offer. I will never go back to being a Christian. I'm a witch. Y'all know this. But I think that there are some beautiful teachings that Jesus had that I don't want to reject whole cloth just because he happened to found a Christian tradition. And so I thought, okay, well, the way I can do this is I can address my religious trauma and pick out, I'm kind of one of those people that I think everybody's got the top of the box. Everybody's got a piece of the puzzle and nobody's got the box top. So any of us know what the whole picture is, but that we know that all of our pieces fit together somehow. That's the best way to describe what I believe. But I'd always bumped on the concept of working with angels because I felt like they were particular to Christianity. Well, come to find out they're not. And that was the reason why I decided to take this class, was to kind of understand what their role in the bigger picture was. Well, so I said all of that to say the lady that was teaching the class, who I think a great deal of, at the end did a reading session for us, for the collective group. And one of the messages for the collective, and there was only 3 of us in the class, she said, someone here is fighting a fight they can't win, even if it's the just fight, and they need to put down their sword. So almost verbatim what was said to me the night before. So the next morning I got up and I was very upset and very agitated, and I couldn't figure out why. And I just felt very unmoored, for lack of a better word, like I was adrift. So I decided, and it's a very hot day, but I decided to go out. I didn't know where I was going. I had a full tank of gas. I texted my friend Carol. I said, I don't know where I'm going exactly, but I've got to move. I got to get out of this house. I've got to go find somewhere where I need to go find my center again. I need to go somewhere where I can think. And so I drove to the river, which is my first port call. I stopped at the river, very hot. I was walking along the river, picking up stones and picking up sticks and doing the things that I do for my people. And I just felt like I needed to cry, but I couldn't do it. I just had this grief inside of me, or this feeling. I couldn't identify the feeling was the problem. I just had this feeling inside of me that I needed to get out. And I wanted to cry, and I wanted to scream, and I wanted to throw things, and I just could not get that feeling out of me. So I took off for our local wildlife refuge, and I drove. It's a pretty long loop. It's like a 12-mile drive, and you have to go very slow. And it was the middle of the day, so I didn't really expect to see much wildlife, but I did. I saw eagles, and I saw hawks, and I saw a fox, and I saw deer, and I saw all kinds of animals, which was lovely. And I got somewhere, and I was looking at a tree that had been blown down in the wind. It was this big tree that had been blown down in the wind, and it was all cut up. And I started to cry, and I just couldn't stop. And out of the blue, my friend Marla calls me. She doesn't usually call. She usually texts me first. But she called me as I was driving out of the refuge headed home. I was still kind of at loose ends and didn't really have words for what I was feeling. And she started talking to me about when she left academia and went into public libraries, kind of at the end of her career. She said, I know what it is you're feeling. She said, you're feeling grief. You are grieving the loss of a life you thought you were going to have. And she was right. I was grieving. I was grieving the loss of this life I thought I was going to have. And then as I got home, Joel, who was out of town visiting someone, called me. He said, are you okay? And I said, I know. And I was kind of telling him what was going on. And he said, I want to say something to you. He said, to the people who love you, you are so much more than Dr. Deborah Burris, the professor of physics. But he said, I think what is making you sad is you are seeing that person disappear because of everything that's happening, and you're grieving that. And he was right. And I talked to another friend that night who's also in higher ed, who's at the same school that I'm at, and we talked about some things. And what I'm grieving is exactly that. It's the loss of this beautiful program that we had that produced amazing students and was essentially murdered. And yes, I said that. It was. There were choices that were made that have destroyed this program. I understand what their reasons were for starting, making the choices they made, but we could have been supported better, and it did not have to be this way. So what that means to me is I'm not fighting anymore. I am stepping way back from that because it was killing me. It was making me just full of anger and full of grief and helplessness. And so I will always be there for my students. I will always take care of my students. But as far as my loyalty to the other stuff, it's over. That's over. I'm going to be loyal to myself and my people first. And that's hard for me because I have been ingrained, especially as a woman, you are ingrained to do this, be this person, to be this role that you fill. And I want to be a good role model for my women students. But I think part of that is understanding where your energy is best applied. Things change, and things have changed. And so I will probably always continue to work there, but my days of going the extra 10 miles are over. I will always take care of my students. I will still be involved in the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Academic Leadership. I will still be involved with the planetarium. But as far as other things go, that's over. That's over for me. So I know that sounds kind of depressive, but it's actually it's a good decision for me. Also, as part of those decisions that I'm making, I have cut way back on my cattle herd. I did not realize this, but I had close to 60 head of cattle, and I was just killing myself trying to keep up with them. So I made the very, very difficult decision to take my herd size down to about 20. I still have a little bit to do with that, but it was very hard for me to do that. It was not something that I did lightly. It was not something that I did with a joyful heart. When I got the check, I sat and looked at it, and it made me very sad because I knew what that meant, and then those animals were gone. But at the end of the day, I know it's the right choice for the betterment of the place that I have, for the animals that I have, and for me. I still have about 20 head. My intention is to keep enough to raise beef for me and my people. That I've got a couple of people that have always bought from me. They will always have accessibility to my beef, and for me and for my found family. But I'm not going to try to make a living anymore, right? That was the goal initially, and it's just too much for one person to try to do. 20 is manageable. 20 is doable for me. And part of that is because the saga of the gas line. Now, I talked a little bit about this, but the gas line saga is winding down finally after 6 months of not having gas in my house. Now, all that meant is I didn't have a heater, which was fine in the summer, but I also have not had a cook stove. Now, I didn't do my hot water, thank goodness, and my hot water is electric. But my gas line was intentionally cut, and then I was denied access to repair it because these people have been nothing but trouble since they moved in behind me. They have caused me and all of the people around me trouble. We have all lived up here for 50 years, never had any problems, always were good neighbors to each other, always helped each other out until these people moved in, and they have been nothing but trouble. They have a friend in the local sheriff's office, so they never get in trouble, even when they assault people, even when they steal things. But it's not going to get fixed. It's not going to change. So I spent $3,000 rerouting my gas line around them. And when we pressure tested it, because my line is 43 years old, it blew out all the couplings. My line is a quarter mile long because my meter is up at the pipeline, and to replace the entire line, we're looking at, $7,000 to $8,000. I don't have that right now. So in the short term, what I will do is I will set a propane tank. You can change the fittings out on my heater and on my stove, and it will run on propane, which is fine. In the long term, the property is very close to being paid off. I've got less than 1.5 years on the primary mortgage and less than 2 years on the secondary mortgage. Yay. So once the property is paid off, then I will save up and I will probably have a new gas line run. I've got 500 feet of a new gas line put in. I just have to tie into both ends of it. But in the short term, it's going to be propane, which is not ideal, but it's what I can afford right now. But I still have to pay nearly $3,000 to get gas, and most of that is for a repair that didn't actually get me anywhere. So it's very frustrating. That's okay. That's okay. On the upside of things, Joel is very interested in learning to ride horses. So we are going to spend some time with the horses this fall and winter, which will be lovely. We got the storm damage cleared away. We had a pretty significant storm come through and damage several trees. Got most of the storm damage cleaned up. So, things are good. I mean, I'm sad about some of these things happening, but at the end of the day, I know things like paring down on the animals is going to help me. Now, I will never get rid of my horses or my dogs or cats. That will not ever happen. They will stay here for good. But the rest, it had to change. It had to change. Just because it was exhausting me. And I want to do other things now. I want to spend time with Joel and do things with him. And I've waited a long time to have somebody who loves me like he does. And so I'm going to do that. Yeah, so school has started back. I am not doing any planetarium shows this fall because my teaching schedule won't allow it. I'm doing a new prep, which is fun. And then as far as I did not do the fair this year, and part of the reason I didn't do the fair is I didn't have any way to do any canning, and I didn't raise a garden this year. But part of it too is if I can't come back with something even better than what I presented before, I kind of don't see the point. So I didn't really feel like I had anything ready that was of that quality. Maybe next year I'll do the fair. I always dream big, right? I have decided not to return to the Rainbow Rider Barn. Things over there have changed also. And it is a program that, while I believe in it, is not something that I have the energy to give to anymore. All of the students that I was working with have left. And so I think that my time is better served here working with my horses here. So I still help out. I still am on good terms with Marianne and still see her, and I still will go over and help out if she needs me to. But largely, I'm done with riding over there unless something significant changes. My plan, I hope, is in a couple of years to save up enough money to send Trixie out to a professional dressage trainer and get her finished so that I can just have a finished horse to ride, which would be ideal. So things are changing, but that's okay. That's a good thing, right? You can't stay the same forever, and if you do, you're just stagnating. So that's a little bit of a long catch up, I realize, but yeah, I'm good with it. I think things are moving in the right direction for me, and I feel good about the future, and I'm excited about the things to come. Yeah, I'm going to put together a separate video. I've got some video clips and pictures from some different events that we've participated in. And I'm really loving doing that. I'm loving getting to go into these different events because it's an extension of my teaching, and I love that. So I'm going to put together a separate video about that, and then also a separate video as I develop my next tarot class. And maybe one about some stones that I recently got. I love good rocks, so maybe I'll do one about that too. So keep an eye out for those if you're interested in that kind of thing. So I'm going to wind up this blather with a few final thoughts. Okay, so for my final thoughts today, I want to talk about an initiative that's going on that you might want to support. It's called the Red Album. The Red Album is a pagan music collaborative that supports reproductive rights. Several of my friends played on it, and they have made their production costs. So now if you purchase a copy of the Red Album, you are supporting different reproductive choice organizations. So you can scan this QR code, or you can go to redalbum.org and find out. These are the artists that play on it. Okay, this is my dear sweet friend Krista and my good friend Lewis, and Mama Gina is up here. And then I know several of the other ones. S.J. Tucker is on there, Spiral Rhythm, Celia Ferran, Kira Lang, Brian Hinkie, Crow Woman, Alexander James Adams, Alexian, Spell Singer, Sue Balashak, Sidney Michael, Richard Williams, Marin King, Pan Fried, and Mr. E. So there's 19 songs on the album. Okay. As I said, they've already made their production cost. I'm one of the sponsors of the album too. I was one of Krista's sponsors. So if you go to redalbum.org, you'll see a little quote from me about why I think this project is important. But if you want to check that out, it does all of the proceeds now go to these different reproductive choice organizations. And this sigil was made by Laura Tempest Zakroff. It's a sigil to protect reproductive choice. So if you're interested in supporting that, it's redalbum.org. Okay. And I think you can actually find it on Spotify also, or Bandcamp. So, but anyway, I wanted to share with you a poem. And this is a book that my friend Patsy, who has been a longtime supporter of the podcast, sent me. It's called That's What I Thought by Jim Seals is the book. But I found this poem that I wanted to read to you because I think it kind of puts where I'm at in my life path in some context, and maybe it will for you too. So it's called Square and Round. She was square and round, always had been. Young would oftentimes find her on the sidelines gazing at the foo-foos, watching them fluff their hair and bat their windows and get their gets. Foolishly she longed to be them, skin swapping, life changing. Books and words were her besties, concepts and theories her lone time musings. She gave more thought to boys than they gave her, fuzzy visions and solo missions, daydreams of what she mistakenly felt she was missing, formative years, deformative years. She grew a stellar life, dare say a beautiful life. Work spawned substance and satisfactions, and her intimates were more precious, more dashing than she'd ever dreamed. Loved her as her. Work was her jewel and family her crown. Grace and quiet elegance draped across her steady shoulders, compassion on her sleeve. And her skin was sought by the foo-foos who'd battled and dallied for a round world, a perfect circle world. A round and round of sames and overs. And she quietly did not notice, did not say. But many times as she'd walked the years, old shadows and doubts had peeked around her corners. A pebble in her shoe, rubbing and reminding her squared edges, her self-imposed doubts, mere dust. So easily whispered away, knowing the worth of her worthiness. And then one day she turned her shoe just so, and the pebble tumbled to the ground and rolled away. I love that. Thank you, Patsy, for sending me this. So I don't know where you can find this. I suspect it's I don't know if it's self-published, but yeah. So anyway, it's called That's What I Thought. So thank you for sending this, Patsy, and I hope that y'all enjoyed that poem. Yes. So y'all have a great time. I'm going to try to check in more frequently. Like I said, I may do some smaller videos about things as well. And I'm going to share some videos of some of the things we've been doing together as far as events go. But anyway, until I see y'all again, you want to come up here and say bye-bye, Willie? Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, Willie. Well, come on. All right. There we go. Willie, come up here and say bye-bye. So let's say bye-bye, Willie. So until we... Oh, don't be a grump. Until we see y'all again, y'all be good to each other and what? Take care of each other and what, Willie? Peace out, y'all. Bye. Say bye, Willie. Oh, don't be grouchy. Don't be grouchy. Say bye-bye. Grump, grump, grump. Shirley not going to like that.